I don't know about you, but I could watch that all day long. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the April edition of Forza Monthly. And from drifting the Nürburgring to exploring beautiful historic Britain to street racing, we've got so much cool stuff for you today here on Forza Monthly from all over the world. We have an incredible show, and I can't wait to get into it because there's so much going on in the world of Forza. Let's give you guys a look at what's happening today on the show before we dive into it, because we got a big menu of stuff to get into. Can't wait to share all of this with you. We've got special guest Vaughn Gittin Jr. is here with us. He's sitting right beside me. You just can't see him yet, but he's here. And we're going to, there he is. What's up, Vaughn?
What's going on, man?
Welcome.
Happy to be here.
It's great to have you here. That just a glimpse of you drifting on the Nürburgring just gets me fired up.
Yeah, it was epic scary experience.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're going to dive deep into that experience with Vaughn in just a few minutes, but let's take a look at what's going on with the rest of the show, because I know there's a lot of curiosity. I know, what are you guys going to talk about today on Forza Monthly? Let's bring up the schedule. We're going to spend some time with Vaughn talking about his Nürburgring experience, talking about Formula D, talking about everything going on in the world of Vaughn Gittin Jr. We've also got some special guests from Turn 10. We're going to talk about the April update for Forza Motorsport 7. So much good stuff happened just a couple of weeks ago with that update. We're going to dive deep. And then we've got a new game we're announcing here on Forza Monthly. It's called Forza Street. It's available now. We're going to dive deep with Andy Bodwin from the team to talk about Forza Street. Looking forward to that. Retro Crystal is here from Playground Games to talk to you about the Series 8 and Series 9 updates for Forza Horizon 4. We're going to take a little look at what's going on now, what's coming in the near future with her, and then we're going to look ahead to May. A lot going on in May and beyond with the Forza, with the world of Forza. So, what a schedule! But let's start with Vaughn. You drifting the Nürburgring. How does something like that come about? Is it just a dream that you kind of have to make happen? How did this project come about?
Well, it's certainly a dream.
Yeah.
You know, in 2011, I went over to Germany to do an event with Monster Energy, and it's my first time being in Germany. And of course, when in Germany, Nürburgring.
That's right.
So I went to the Nürburgring and actually rented a little. There's a ton of rental companies out there, and I rented this little Suzuki Swift.
Okay.
And was doing hot laps in it. And
with traffic around you and
yeah, during tourist days,
okay.
There's a couple campers and a couple amazing exotics,
right.
race cars. Like it's a really wild thing on tourist days. But I was just like, man, I need to drift this place. It must happen. And starting in 2011, I had a personal dream to go and drift the Nürburgring, complete full attack, just from start to finish. And in 2017, I was able to beg, borrow, and steal to put the budget together to make it happen.
Yeah.
And we went out there, and it rained.
As it does at the Nürburgring, yeah.
So we made some lemonade out of lemons, and
right.
I actually drifted the ring with a Ford Raptor,
okay.
which was very fun and
Slick,
a crazy challenge on
wet.
its own. It was wet, and we made it work.
Yep.
I was actually surprised how much steering angle the Raptor feels like it has because it's so long.
Right.
So we made it work, but mission was not accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah.
So last year we got 2 dates, and the Nürburgring was very supportive. It's really hard to get days with the ring
because you need the whole track to yourself on those days, right?
And everybody wants the Nürburgring.
That's right.
But they really loved the project, and they felt bad for us, missing out the previous year. So we went back again and made it happen. And we had 2 days, and the weather worked out for us. We had one day of it was beautiful, and then the clouds came in, and it started hailing and snowing. Seriously. And then the next day was beautiful. So we were able to get the project done. And I was able to fulfill my dream. We've had a couple edits come out, and some of them are more edited than others. And obviously, when you're doing the external shots, not the POV chase shots, you have to stop and go. But my dream was fulfilled when I was able to do a complete full lap from start to finish with the lead car and a chase car, which is the edit that we have now.
You're seeing right here some of the action on track now. There's the matter of driving it, but before we get to driving the ring and drifting the ring, I want to talk about the logistics of the crew that you had to bring and all the cameras, and what was that like? How was that planning like? Did you know the kind of shots you wanted going in, or is it kind of a matter of discovery once you're there? Yeah,
so it was a year in the planning, a year of planning. We worked with a crew out of the UK, and we also worked with a lot of the crew that we work with here in the States. So everyone kind of came together and formed what we feel is one of the the greatest crews that film automotive content.
Sure.
And having that first year kind of go bust was kind of a blessing, because we were so much more prepared the second go round when we were actually able to accomplish the mission, if you will. But yeah, massive logistics, not only just getting the car over and spares. I mean, we made sure we had a spare motor, spare trans, everything. Because
tons of tires,
when you have the Nürburgring, tons of tires.
Yeah.
And, when you have the ring, you don't want to risk any failures that could shut your day down. And, there's not a ton of 750 horsepower Ford Mustangs in Germany at the current juncture. So, so we came prepared, and it all worked out very, very well. And we had a lot of fun. I scared myself a few times.
Good.
And it was epic, and we've had a great response from the videos that we've put out, and really pumped to get this new one out.
So you have the first experience in 2011 in the Suzuki, then you went there with the Raptor, then you finally got there with your Mustang. It's only really a handful of real laps in real life. How did you approach sort of learning the Nürburgring?
Sure, yeah. Well, obviously studying some videos, but Forza Motorsport 7 was actually a huge help. For me, I used it to choose, kind of get my peripherals right of at speed, what I was going to be seeing, kind of like guesstimate, entry points and markers that were on the course. Everything's laser scanned, so it's all exact.
Oh, yeah.
So I just used it, and it really, your brain doesn't really know, if you're driving or not,
right.
So that all translates. So by time I got to the ring, I had a few hundred laps in.
Yeah.
Still wish I had a few hundred more, because
right.
once I got there and started attacking some of the blind turns and things like that, I wasn't so confident, or I didn't know exactly what I would have liked to have known. But I feel like, with respect to all the preparations we did, I feel like, I'm pretty proud of my attack on the ring. Being a professional and a professional athlete and a perfectionist.
Yeah.
I watch a video now and I'm like, I could have done that. I should have did that. But these are the kind of things that is just nitpicking.
Yeah, it's funny. You were saying before the show that as much research as you did, as many laps as you did, there were still moments where you were surprised by the course. Tell me about that.
Yeah, the Nürburgring caught me a few times. Is my best way of explaining it. Just a couple times, going too deep or not setting up, especially in some of the blind sections, not setting up properly, could have posed a really bad problem for me. But now I know why some of the curbing is taller in some places than others. And a few of the spots where I went deep were where the curbs are pretty tall, and it just kind of caught me.
Yeah.
Like the Nürburgring was there for me. Thank you, Nürburgring.
Thanks, Nick.
But yeah, it was. It's a big track. I mean, 12 miles. It's really tough to memorize that. And the guys that are out there doing 24 hours and things like that. These guys have thousands and thousands of laps on the ring. Yeah, but in the end, it's an incredible track, and it just flows.
Yeah.
Like, even if you don't know it so well, when you're on the track and you hit it at speed, you just end up, as long as you know how to grab proper apexes, you just end up in the right place on the track. It's such a really, unbelievable special place. And, there were some very, very scary moments, times where I thought that I was writing the car off, but it all worked out, and I'm here to talk about it.
Well, let me ask you this. When you do an event like Long Beach, you set up your car for that track. How do you set a car up for the Nürburgring when you have a little bit of everything?
Sure, yeah. So, drifting competition, and especially, Forza Motorsport 7 drifters will know, right? When they're competing, they set the car up to be fast and put grip in the car where it drives super hard. And that's how we run our cars in Formula Drift. But going for something like the Nürburgring, the goal was to have a car, we wanted a little bit more longevity. So we used a little bit harder compound Nitto tire versus what we would use on our competition car. And then we set the car up a little bit freer. There's a lot of long straights and a lot of big entries. So I took a lot of the side grip out of the car. So basically just put a larger rear sway bar on it so that the car would be super free and handle all of those big deep entries, and I was able to do these long extensions to connect the straightaways. Like, I didn't want to do any manjis, and a manji is when you would just go left and right down a straight. I wanted to just come out of drift, go as fast as I could, enter as early as I could, and connect everything. So that allowed me to get those long extensions in. And the car is that I used is quite a bit different than the FD car. Very similar chassis, but the drivetrain of the car that I used is basically a Coyote, very similar to what comes in the V8 Ford Mustangs. And the transmission, we had a PPG sequential in that car, whereas the Formula Drift car, I use a 4-speed dog box. And the reason why we had the sequential is because that car is supercharged, and we wanted to keep it in the power band because it doesn't have as much torque as say my competition car. So quite a few adjustments to make it work for the ring, but the biggest being that the car is a lot more freer and easier to drive, if you will, than say a competition setup.
And you were saying different tires than you would compete on as well, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so we used 315 NT555 G2 Nitto tire in Formula Drift. Very sticky, very grippy tire. And then for the Nürburgring, we used 275 40, and that car runs on 20-inch wheels versus the 18s that we run in drifting and or in Formula Drift. And the reason for that is in Formula Drift, we want the big fat sidewall to get all that, to get the as much grip as we can forward and side. Yeah. Whereas for the ring, I wasn't so concerned about all the grip. Wanted the car to be free and easy to drive so I could connect everything.
So is it a matter of adjustment getting there to the ring and you're on different tires and a different spec and things feel a little bit different, or was it just get in and go?
Yeah, it was just get in and go.
Yeah.
I have enough experience with that car, and it was just get in, hammer down,
go,
bang gears and send it.
Well, speaking of that, we're going to send it in Forza Motorsport 7 right now because if you didn't know, we've got a bounty hunter happening right now, a drift bounty hunter in Forza Motorsport 7 that Vaughn is taking part in. And along with Chelsea, his teammate, RTR teammate Chelsea Denofa, who was here back in March. Just hit the B button there. And a couple developers from Forza Motorsport 7 from Turn 10 are taking part in it as well. If you haven't checked this out, you can use any car, but Vaughn's obviously going to be using his car with this year's livery, I have to add. Looks great.
Yeah, our friend Vicari made this for us, and you can download this year's liveries from my gamer tag, VGJ XX5, or I probably shouldn't talk while I'm driving, or Chelsea's, which is Chelsea Denofa. And my setup at home, I actually use a wheel and pedals, and but I actually got a little practice today with the controller. So I will say, looking at the bounty results, you all are insane.
I looked it up before the show began. The top score in the world right now is 102,000 on a single lap. So that I think personally I'm under 20,000. So
I think my best so far is like 30,000.
Okay.
So.
Well, this is a great chance for you to show your drifting skills against the likes of Vaughn Gittin Jr., Chelsea Denofa, and some of our star drifters at Turn 10. It's here on the Dubai Mountain Course. You start uphill, but it's this track, Vaughn, is a challenge because of those walls. They're everywhere.
It is, and like these long extensions, it kind of reminds me of the ring because there's some straights that you kind of have to extend. And I've seen the videos of these guys posting up using the RTR X Forza hashtag. It just blows my mind and the talent of everyone. And it's really cool to see so many people having fun with our cars.
It's funny, we were talking before the show began about how the drift community has sort of grown in Forza over the years. You look back to some of the original games like Forza Motorsport 2, Forza Motorsport 3. It's when sort of drifting really took off with our community teams like Blackjack. And now we're giving so much love to drifters. We have cars like this. We have your RTR cars in the game. We have new drift scoring model that you see here on the right. Drifting is really, it's just become this cultural phenomenon, exemplified in Formula Drift, exemplified in games like Forza. It's just, I can imagine from your perspective, it's grown over time as well.
Yeah, well, the sport is very accessible from a motorsport perspective in real life. I mean, it's one of the more affordable motorsports to get into, and it's kind of like skateboarding with cars. You go to the track with your friends and go out and do runs, and everyone comes back and you're chatting about it, and it's just a really fun, and the lifestyle around it has just grown to something really, really special. I've been doing this for about 16 years now and watched the progression, and now, the Forza following and the level that these guys are competing. I mean, the online competitions and just everybody meeting up online. It's super rad to see that opportunity, and believe it or not, I mean, it does really translate to reality. I bet some of the top guys that do this would be really good behind the wheel of a car, because it really does take good throttle control and good overall hand-eye control to make this all work.
So. You kind of think of that next generation of Formula Drift drivers that are coming up, probably spent a ton of time on games like Forza.
Without a doubt, there's no doubt that is going to be continuing to happen too.
So tell me about the season so far. You just had the first round of Formula D?
Yeah, we just had round one in Long Beach, and Chelsea and I, we had a lot of new things with our cars this year. We dropped about 200 pounds out of them. We added about 300 horsepower thanks to Nitrous and the guys over at Holly. So now we have up to 300 horsepower of basically full adjustable horsepower that we can control at the tracks. And we did some geometry and suspension changes, work with our friends at BC Racing Coilovers. We've got some new three-way adjustable ZR Series coilovers that are really allowing us to control everything very well. And the cars are really easy to drive. In fact, I've had a lot of people reaching out asking, the Forza community asking for the setup to make the cars three-wheel.
You want those three wheels. Yeah.
So we actually, you won't see much three-wheeling this year, but if you do want to do it in Forza, you can check out our friend X Vicari X. He uploaded that a three-wheel setup for you guys. This kid, Vicari's 16 years old, and he came up to me in Texas last year, and he was asking me these very technical questions about our car, and I couldn't believe how perceptive this kid was. And so, we've been chatting back and forth, and I gave him our setup in real life, and he replicated it in Forza, and he said, wow, it works perfect. So it's harder to drive, but it does look really cool. And that's the same too, in real life. That's why we changed it this year, and you'll see the cars are a lot more settled and driving a lot better. And a lot of that is due to suspension adjustments and also the new tire that we're using that Nitto Tires provided. So we didn't get the greatest results in Long Beach, but we have Florida now in a week. So, it's been a lot of fun. And, I've also been doing Ultra 4 racing, which is, desert and rock climbing and jumping in my classic Bronco, Brocky.
Yeah.
So quite a lot of cool things going on, and drifting very much translates very well to that sport as well. So
shout out to X Vicari X. That's spelled, so you know, X Vicari X, who created the tune for this car, and he did the livery. Is that right?
Yeah, he did the livery
that
you can get on mine or by going to mine or Chelsea's gamer tag. I'm VGJXX5, and Chelsea is Chelsea Denofa. So you can download the most recent liveries for our Mustang RTRs.
So shout out to Vicari, well done, sir. If I had told you 16 years ago when you were beginning your career as a drifter that you would one day drift the Nürburgring, what would you say?
That you're crazy. No, it's
amazing.
It really is, and for me, like, just a serious dream come true, and one of the greatest challenges I've ever accomplished. Not only from a business standpoint and logistical standpoint, but as a driver behind the wheel. I've been doing this 16 years. I don't scare myself too often anymore, and it was nice to go to arguably the most dangerous track in the world and just full send it and be able to have a sweet video or a few sweet videos for everybody to check out.
And speaking of that, I know the fact that now you have this video, the Forza community is going to dive in. They want to get involved on this drifting the Nürburgring as well. And one of our community stars, he's known as Don Joan Song. You know him. He created an incredible video inspired by Vaughn Gittin Jr.'s Nürburgring run. We're going to take a look at the trailer. DJS, take us home. Don Joan Song brings it.
Wow.
Incredible.
It was really cool to see like his take on it. You know, I did a 360 entry into one of the turns in our first Drift King of the Ring edit, and he did a 360 over the jump, which is pretty rad. And hopefully this, you know, inspires you guys to go out there, attack the ring with one of our RTRs. Make sure you hashtag RTRX Forza. We'll be checking it out. I know I'll post up some of my favorites, but I want to see your guys' style. I want to see how you guys would approach the ring in one of our cars. And shout out to DJS. That was pretty epic to watch. And I'm going to go watch the full thing after as soon as we're done.
And it's going to be posted on Don Joan Song's channel right after the show's done, so you can go check that out. In addition, you are a new cut of the King of the Ring as well, right after the show. Yeah,
you know, a lot of people, you know, our initial video edits that we put out were, you know, edited and cut together, right? And a lot of people wanted to see the full cut. So what we've done is we've made an edit that is kind of like a POV edit from Forza Motorsport 7. So it's mainly all lead car and chase car. Very few edits in it, and the only edits that are in it are because of lack of camera or that shot. But basically, from the two complete runs that I did, you know, I did a complete run with the car in front of me, and then a complete run with the chase car behind me. So check it out. It's pretty rad. I think it's actually my favorite edit because it is raw and the exact, you know, captures what my dream was, which was attacking the Nürburgring full lap and just making it happen as clean as possible.
Amazing. And you guys can check that out on the Forza YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Turn10 Studios. Coming up right after the show. Vaughn, thank you so much for being here.
Hey,
what a pleasure, man. It's great meeting you.
Yeah,
we'll have to have you on soon.
Yeah, thanks to everybody in the Forza community. We've been having a lot of fun with you guys, and look forward to having some online gameplay soon.
Well, you know, Vaughn's car is in the game. We've got the RTR Mustangs in Forza Motorsport 7. We also have a brand new car here in the April update, and it's the McLaren Senna. I thought we'd take a moment to check out the Senna because this is such a legendary car in the world of Forza. As you know, it's the cover car for Forza Horizon 4. And people have been saying ever since they saw it on the cover of Horizon 4, when are we going to get this in Motorsport 7? It's here now with the April update. We have a Rivals event, Spotlight Rivals event that's happening. In fact, I'm checking out the event right now. It's on, obviously, Silverstone here in the Senna. You guys can set a lap time in this amazing car, and we will have some special rewards available to you. But before we get there, let's take a look at this Senna on Silverstone for just a moment, because I know the community has been wanting this car for a long time, and it is a joy to drive for sure. In fact, if I get in cockpit cam, this is an amazing view. And yes, you'll be driving on Silverstone here in this Spotlight Rivals event. And as we always do with Spotlight Rivals events every month when they come up in Forza Motorsport 7, here on the show, we give you guys a chance to vote on the reward that you will get for running in this event. We've been doing this for the past couple of months here on Forza Monthly, and this month is no different. In fact, we've got a poll that we're going to set live on Mixer and Twitch where you guys can vote. You have 4 cars to choose from, obviously McLaren models to choose from, the P1 GTR, the F1 GT Classic McLaren there, the 12C GT3 race car, and the 650S Coupe. You guys can vote on this poll right now. The winning car will be the reward car we send out to everyone once this Spotlight Rivals event closes in just a few weeks. Enjoy the Senna on Silverstone. It's amazing, and you will get an awesome McLaren in the process. So vote now on Mixer and Twitch. We'll have the poll results in just a bit. And let's take a look at the rest of the stream schedule, because we got a lot more to talk about here on Forza Monthly, not just the Senna. We're going to talk next with some folks from Turn 10 about the Forza Motorsport 7 April update, which just launched last week. We're going to talk about a brand new game in the world of Forza. It's called Forza Street. Andy Bodwin from the Turn 10 team is going to be here talking to us about Forza Street. Retro Crystal will be here after that talking about the Series 8 and Series 9 updates for Forza Horizon 4 and a look ahead to May. But I'm so pleased to be joined by 2 of my friends here from Turn 10, Christina and Chase. Welcome, guys. Christina, I'm particularly happy. No offense, Chase, but I'm really happy to have Christina here.
Good start.
Yeah, great start. But Christina has been with us for a couple of years, but just joined the community team.
Yeah, that's true. I joined Turn 10 in general a little bit over 2 years ago, and I worked my way from the environments team where we were working on those beautiful racetracks, like the Nürburgring as well.
Yes.
Over to the UI UX team, and then later to gameplay type teams. Amongst others, we worked on the Forza Race Regulations. Right. And recently, I moved over as a professional cat herder on your team.
That's right. That's a good way to put it. We've got a lot of cats on the community team. And Chase, great to have you here for your first time on Forza Monthly.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
It's and you've been with Forza for a long time.
Yeah, I joined as a contractor back in 2010. So I've been with the audio team working in motorsport since then. And then with 7 took over as audio director on that project. So. Been very interesting, always entertaining, but yeah, no, that's kind of my story right now.
We're going to dive deep into some updates with sound updates with April, because you guys have done some incredible work in the month of April. But before we do that, let's talk to Christina about those Forza Race Regulations, because here we are, it's April, the public beta is open, but the first step of it, at least for Forza players, was last month with the March sort of private beta, right?
Yes, so for March we invited a small group of players to play along in an invite-only beta version of the Forza Race Regulations from the community as well as from Turn 10. Mm-hmm. And it was, I believe, the first time that we've done something like this, at least while I've been there.
Yeah.
It was a very, very exciting thing to go through, to experience, to learn from, and to have players join in a feature in development. We learned a lot from it, some of which already shows in the April update, and a lot more is to come in future updates.
There's a lot that's new about this. There's the fact that we are releasing a feature that isn't fully baked, I guess you'd say, a beta for a feature. But there's also the aspect of learning how we collect and send feedback to the team and manage that. These are all new muscles, I guess you'd say.
Yes. So I think for the first time we've started providing some of the feedback responses, question responses in our Forza Friday show last time that we met. And we began collecting feedback on our, like a little bit on a Discord chat, but there is a lot of communication happening on Discord. It's so amazing to see how passionate people are talking about their favorite game. So one of the things that we've learned is how about we find out a place for people to discuss the feedback that they want to give, or what they think, what they experience, but then also figure out where people can collectively actually provide feedback for the developers to take into account. So that's one of the learnings that we took there. And obviously, we took the feedback, we saw how many things were mentioned, how often, and then relate that to the development team, who then take that into account for future development. It's
all part of that ongoing process of the features in development. We're listening to feedback. Yeah. The changes happen. You see the next iteration of it. Before we talk about feedback, you guys can go to the Discord. You saw the links earlier for the Discord and for the forum thread where we want that pointed feedback that will go directly to the developers. Before we talk about the future of Forza Race Regulations as we continue development, let's talk about what it is right now. Give us a snapshot of what Forza Race Regulations are like in April.
Oh, so we started out by just having the Forza Race Regulations track cut, which is still true for April. And between March and April, the one new thing is that in the event results, it does take into account how many penalties you've racked up, and you may drop or gain a couple of places depending on how clean you've been racing. So if you've just been track cut happy, then you might not stay in the place that you came in just by racing. So that's one of the things that is new. We have cleaned up the penalty message UI, so it should now be much easier to read. And obviously it's now public. So that's one of the great new things.
Everybody can play it. In fact, I'm going to show you where to go play it in the, if you haven't checked it out yet, you go into multiplayer. I'm actually going to go into the lobby now, and you can see it's right here in the multiplayer lobby, the Forza Race Regulations Cycle Production Beta. That's the lobby where all of the FRR is happening right now.
Yes, and in case you're curious to learn more about the feature, you can also access the help menu from there to learn a little bit more. Now, it's important to note that Forza Race Regulations is a multiplayer-only feature. I've seen some questions in chat and on social media asking, oh, but will this affect my single-player game? Because I do like messing around a little bit in single-player. And it is multiplayer only, and currently it's limited to only that beta hopper. The cool thing about Race Regulations, though, is that because now you get penalized if you cut a track and gain some advantage by it, we were finally able to remove those tire walls. And
that's right.
Yeah, you get those beautiful, beautiful tracks like in their full glory.
Monza the way it's meant to be.
Yes.
Yas Marina, all of those tracks that we had to put those tire walls up, now they're free of that. Now, again, that's only an FRR-enabled hopper, so it's one hopper right now where you see that. But hopefully in the future, as things evolve?
Yeah, we can maybe tease May already, because one of the really cool things in May is heavily requested by the community, is that then you will be able to use Forza Race Regulations in a private beta hopper, in a private hopper as well. So you don't just have access to the one hopper, the one public hopper, but you can also set up your private lobby.
So have we talked about the AI adjudicator yet? I think that's.
We have not.
Let's talk about that, because this is sort of it's kind of like the engine that runs the Forza Race Regulations, the track cutting right now. Tell us about that.
Correct, and it's also one of the most frequently asked questions in the community. How does it actually work? Like, what does it measure? So there. First things first, a dirty lap does not mean a penalty. So just because you go off track doesn't necessarily mean you'll automatically gain a penalty. You will get a penalty if you have gained an advantage, which will be assessed by the AI adjudicator. Now, advantages can be twofold. One is gaining a place. So if you're off track and you're passing someone else while off track, then it's an unfair advantage, and you will get penalized for that. And the other way to gain advantage is if you go off track at place A and you go back on track at place B, the AI adjudicator will calculate how long it would have taken you in your current car to go around from A to B the proper way versus how fast you were when you went off track. And then it will assess whether you have gained an advantage, and it will penalize you accordingly. The penalty is not the same as the advantage you've gained. It will be a penalty, so possibly a bit more.
Yeah, and these are, and right now, Forza Race Regulations is track cutting only.
Correct. It's only track cutting for now. This allowed us to focus and just get this thing right and work on some of the tangential parts of the Forza Race Regulations, but the team is already working very heavily on adding collisions to the penalty system.
That will be part of it.
It will be part of it in the future.
You mentioned earlier, it's worth reiterating the fact that we want feedback from players. I want to talk a little bit about what's coming in May, but before we do that, can we reiterate, if I'm a player, where do I go? How do I give feedback to the team?
So for one, I'm sure you want to discuss and chat with your fellow players. What do you think about the feature, and maybe share your favorite stories or moments. For that, we would love for you to go to the Forza Discord under AKMS/Forza Discord. But if you want to give pointed feedback for the developers to see, we would love for you to go to the official feedback thread on our forums. We have created a short link to make it easier to find.
You just saw it on screen there.
Yeah, it's AKMS/FRR feedback. So please give your feedback there. It's not the place for discussions. You can discuss to your heart's content on Discord.
Or even elsewhere on the forums. Like, go where you want. But it's important for players to know that if you want, we're saying go to the thread because that's the best place to get feedback that the developers are going to see. So I'm in a lobby right now, Christina. I'm going to cut a track here just so folks can get an idea of what we're looking at. You can see there that it says off track there. Now, whether I gained an advantage there, it's trying to figure out right now. It looks like it determined I did not gain an advantage there.
I think it was just a tad too slow.
Yeah, well, that's the story of my life, just a tad slow. But it's the way it goes. But yeah, you can see, look, that guy is definitely testing the system right there. He is, I don't know what kind of advantage he thinks he got, but here's my advantage of 6-second penalty for that cut. So you can get a sense of how these penalties are working. And like you were saying earlier, Christine, we're not done here. May has some exciting developments, I think, for Forza Race Regulations.
Yes, so we hear your feedback. There are some things that we've added even outside of Forza Race Regulations. Like one of the most frequently requested items on our list was the ghosting of backmarkers, and that will come in May. And I've mentioned the use of Forza Race Regulations in private lobbies. And lastly, one of the most common feedback items that we got during the private beta was to make the penalties a little bit more granular. Not just full seconds, but be a little bit more granular, maybe half seconds, maybe quarter seconds. That will also come in May.
Right now, penalties are just measured in seconds.
Yes,
but we've heard a lot of feedback of like, hey, you know, that seems a little harsh in some cases, so we're going to dial that down a bit. One other thing, I think we have a dev Q&A coming up on our
Oh yeah, so
Discord.
We do have a developer Q&A coming up on Discord. It will be on April 29th at 1 p.m. Pacific time, and that's where the development team or some of the development team from the Forza Race Regulation systems will join us on Discord and talk with the community. They'll answer questions, they might give some looks into the future, so please join us there.
A lot of different ways for you to get involved with Forza Race Regulations, from playing the game to giving feedback. There's just so much going on. This is a feature that is in continued development and will continue to be in development. So, Christina, thank you so much for that. I appreciate that input. Are we going to poll results now? Car audio. Let's talk with Chase. Why don't we do that? Chase, you are with the audio team. You have been with Forza for a long time.
Yep.
Before we talk about the April updates, I want to talk about what it takes to get car engine audio into a game like Forza Motorsport 7. This is a process that your team has developed and refined over many years now.
Still refining.
Yeah, still refining.
Yeah, still refining. Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Never ending. I think because it's a we're dealing with real world cars. It always starts with real world source. So we're always working with our sourcing partners, even the turn 10 business partners to kind of find us cars, to work with our cars team and make sure that we're delivering the best audio source so we can build the best sounding cars we can.
So you guys put cars on dynos. You guys mic cars on track. There's a lot of different ways of getting. How has that process evolved over time? Yeah,
I mean, we actually moved from. So initially, it was a lot of rolling road dynos, Dynapack, kind of stationary recordings. We've moved more towards on track recordings where we mic up cars and we basically run down a drag strip or down an airfield and record the sound of it accelerating and decelerating.
And is that for wind sounds, or what
no,
is
actually,
the reasoning there?
There's a little bit of a difference in just how the car responds. On a rolling road dyno or a Dynapack, it's kind of a simulation, so it's maybe not. There's certain things you can do and some things it does well at. Going onto a road, there's a little bit of a natural character shift that we can get that isn't always possible when we do like sustained load, kind of like steady state, hold this RPM for this long. It just isn't as possible to get that kind of naturally. A car will go through many different kind of like character shifts from kind of idle to red line. So as we kind of take it through that range, there's these natural kind of changes that happen, and that's what we're trying to capture is that behavior.
What always struck me is in the earlier days when you would do dynos is just the sheer amount of equipment, the sheer amount of mics that you have on a car. You're capturing the engine, you're capturing exhaust, you're capturing tires sometimes. Yeah. Has that changed? Has that increased? Or
I think from the early days, so my earliest experience, it was far more microphones than we use now.
Okay.
And the microphone selection has actually changed a lot too. So when you are, when you do dyno or Dynapack, it's a stationary car.
Yep.
The roller kind of moves underneath it. So we can mic it up, no different than how we would mic up like a guitar cabinet or a drum set. Like you can move things around and get the right angles. And when you're on track, however, it's like you're mounting to the car, so your positioning is a little bit different. There's different mic selections you choose because it's portable, or I can need to, if we have a car like the Senna or something like that, where we actually can't put a microphone where we would want to, you kind of have to find these little bitty microphones that are going to be able to kind of squeeze in. And so
is that because there's not enough space, or because the manufacturer's like, no, thank you?
Yeah, when we do the stationary recordings, I mean, like we can actually open the hood and we can kind of put microphones in the engine compartment, and then put multiple microphone perspectives on the exhaust. But when you're on track, you don't have a lot of those because I mean you can't send it down the road at 120 miles an hour with microphone stands next to it, right? So it's a lot of like mounting to the car. No different than if you watch any kind of footage of when they do film audio. And actually the team that we work with at Warner Brothers that find cars and record cars for us, like they've been doing it for a long time, so they are very, very dialed in on what their process is. And we've gotten a lot of great results from them.
I think what maybe folks at home don't necessarily realize is that miking the car is one thing, but getting access to some of these cars is difficult as well.
Yeah, sourcing is always a challenge, especially when we have, like in Forza, we have such a diverse kind of range of cars. Mm-hmm. There aren't many running 1920s Indy cars that we can go find and go record. Right. And a lot of the cars, especially that are kind of a little bit more historical or kind of like older race cars, if there is a working model of them, they're not necessarily thrilled with taking it out on track and just
pushing the engine,
pushing it, because they're very delicate and they potentially temperamental machines. So yeah, we spend a lot of time working with our partners to help us find cars. We've gone through everything from working with race teams and actually through our internal connections and actually getting access to race cars, down to we actually showed up at a recording session and we had a few cars pull out. So we actually went on to some community forums and said, hey, we're in this area. If you want to come by and have your car show up in the game, show up. Cool. We had a bunch of people show up within probably a couple hours. So we've run the range of how we source cars. But that's just kind of it's a cool thing that we get to do.
So tell me about April, a big update. Chase, I think this is the first audio update of this magnitude we've done?
I mean, typically when we do updates, it's for new cars that we're releasing or expansion content or anything like that. To my knowledge, this is the first time our team has actually gone back in. We've been looking at community feedback and we've been collecting it and looking for common themes over the last several months, and really more just trying to figure out how could we do a specific or a targeted fix that addresses some feedback, and looking at again how can we actually make the community feel like they're helping and they're kind of we're responding to their feedback, we're listening to that feedback. So yeah, we did actually we kind of identified a few themes, and then went back in and kind of revisited either by just retooling the whole car, adding new source. We actually did several new recording sessions to kind of address some of the problems too. But again, just responding to the community. So again, if the feedback wasn't answered in this round, I would continue to encourage everybody to just keep sending it. There was kind of a bigger, broader plan for what we could do, but we had to kind of make it in a time that felt appropriate.
Sure.
But a lot of the stuff that we haven't gotten to yet is actually starting to kind of form our kind of standpoint or our thinking around what the future of the Forza audio sounds like.
Yeah, you mentioned the Carrera GT that I'm driving right now as a great example of the kind of work you did. What about this car and what kind of work went into it? And
yeah, this car was interesting because so we actually did get a new recording of this car, and our sound designer spent a while working with the new material, getting into the game. How can we, and then looking at how can we actually pronounce, help kind of really sell that howl from this particular engine, But we worked with. A lot of the other the feedback we got was around diversity within our V12s. So we spent a lot of time working with new material, working on better differentiating our Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Aston Martin V12 engines, and really trying to make each of those feel a lot more distinct, and kind of closer to what I think the player or the community expectations are.
Well, you guys want to crank the volume here a little bit so people can get a sense of what this Carrera sounds like. I'll flip through the different views here and shut up a minute so you can hear the engine. go. I mean, Chase, I think you can definitely hear the difference there, especially like between cockpit cam and the third-person external. That's always been a thing. You've always had those slight differences in sound depending on the camera you're using. But boy, this thing sounds mean.
Yeah, we do spend a lot of time trying to make sure that each view feels a little bit more distinct depending on which perspective you're viewing the car. Which we think actually just adds a new level kind of player immersion, especially if you're driving. If you're a cockpit driver, I love driving a cockpit. We spend a lot of time working on the audio for that. So I like to feel a little bit more that pronounced kind of like intake note and really kind of feeling that on throttle sensation, which is just great.
So if you had to pick beyond the Carrera, a couple cars that people should check out if they want to hear the fruit of all your work in April, what do you think?
Like I mentioned before, have a check out some of our the work we've done on our V12s. So play around with a few of the Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Aston Martins. We've also done a lot of work with our two-rotor Mazda source. So your RX-7s, your RX-8s, like we've spent a lot of time working on that content as well. So some new recordings in there, some new effects processing that we did.
All right, I'm gonna put you on the spot before we wrap up.
Oh no.
Favorite sounding car of all time?
In the game or in real life?
You tell me.
I'm still a sucker for I remember one of the first cars that I got to go record was the last gen V8 GT, the 4GT. Just that car just still feels very beastly to me. I just love that. I'm partial to V8s, but maybe it's my American
Sure. Bias there?
Yeah, it might be that.
Yeah,
showing,
could be. Well, cool. Chase, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Amazing work. Congratulations to the team. These cars sound amazing. Well done. You guys can check these cars out for yourselves, the V12s, the Nissans, the Porsches, the Mazda two-rotors. The team has put an amazing amount of work. Please check it out for yourself and let us know. Like Chase says, we want to hear more feedback of what you want from audio in Forza Motorsport. So let us know what you think. In addition to the Forza Race Regulations, in addition to the sound updates, the engine audio updates for Forza Motorsport 7 in April, we also unlocked a whole ton of exclusive cars in Forza Motorsport 7. You might remember in March, we unlocked driver gear so you could get your hands on that driver gear you've been looking for. We also had a bunch of previously locked cars that we heard a lot of feedback from. I want to get this car. Why can't I get a hold of this Forza Edition car, for example? We unlocked something like 70 cars with the April update as well. So except for a handful of cars in the Forza Driver Cup single player that are locked behind progression through that, the vast majority of cars are now completely open in Forza Motorsport 7. That's coming directly from you guys. You wanted those cars unlocked. With April, they are unlocked. So that's great news for folks looking to get their hands on those cars as well. Let's take a look at the poll results. You might remember earlier we've got that McLaren Senna Rivals event, and you guys could vote on the reward car you wanted to see. The winner, hands down, I wouldn't have guessed this, but it was the McLaren P1 GTR. Maybe I should have guessed that. I was going to say the F1 GT, but the 2015 McLaren P1 GTR is your winner. That's the reward car that players will be able to get. They'll be rewarded with after playing in the event, and the event ends, you will be able to get that P1 GTR. So congratulations to the P1 GTR. Well done. Listen, let's take another look at the Forza, the rest of the show, because we still got a ton of stuff going on. We are going to unveil a brand new game in mere minutes. It's called Forza Street, and we're going to have Andy Bodwin from the team talking about that brand new game. We're still have Retro Crystal is here. She's going to take a look at Forza Horizon 4 Series 8 and a preview of Series 9 as well. And we'll look ahead to May. Thank you to Chase and to Christina for being here. Appreciate your time. Great work in April, and looking forward to what's coming up next. Now, you might remember last month here on Forza Monthly, Dan Greenewalt was sitting right over here and was talking about everything we've got going on in the Forza franchise. You might remember he was talking about the fact that we've shifted resources from Forza Motorsport into the next Motorsport project. But we also had a lot of stuff going on. We're talking about everything that's going on in the franchise. One of those things is a brand new game that we are debuting here today on Forza Monthly. It's called Forza Street. Check it out.
It's Forza Street. You might have noticed that little bug there. Play free now. You can play Forza Street right now. I am so pleased to be joined by Andy Bodwin from Turn 10 to talk about Forza Street. It's so exciting to.
It's here.
It's here. You can play it. Andy, this is unlike any Forza game we've seen before. How does a game like this come about?
Forza's about entertaining people that like to play games and love cars. And so when we look around the world and we look at all the people out there that fit that category, love cars and love to play games, a ton of them, millions of them, play it here. Yep. This is the device that they like to game on. So we knew that when we brought something new to the franchise, we wanted it to be something that would be at home on this kind of device. You know, people play games differently on phones, so we didn't just want to take our existing titles and shrink them down and try to fit them into a phone. So we started with the idea of let's create something that feels native on that device, and let's bring it to as many platforms as we could. PC, let's bring it to phones, let's bring it to high-end devices, low-end devices across the whole spectrum. So we're working with a new team on this one, and when we were back in concept phase, you know, it's been a couple years now, and trying to come up with an idea of that would satisfy those criteria. The team pitched this idea of, you know, you've got all these great cars in Forza, you've got this really cool physics system. What if you could control those cars with that physics system with one finger on a phone? So that was the start. Yeah. The team built a prototype. It showed a lot of promise. We thought it was cool. And then the art guys had this idea of, hey, wait a minute. What if we were to make it look like you're playing a replay? What if we made it so that every race looked like the end of your favorite, you know, insert awesome street racing show here? Yeah. So the artists did their prototype. That showed a ton of promise. We fused those two things together and came up with a timing-based mechanic where it's all about timing your gas, your brake, and your boost in order to win super quick, under 1 minute races. Tons of drama, tons of intensity. And we're pretty pleased with where
We've got it right in front of me.
Yeah.
You mind?
Yeah.
Let's check this thing out.
You gonna hop into a race there?
Yeah, I want to check this out. So, okay. All right, so Tom, what am I looking at here? I haven't played a lot of this yet.
Yeah, so we actually, to make it a little bit easier for the folks watching, I recorded some footage earlier on my PC. If we can throw that up there, that'd be great.
Right here, getting ready to start the race. Okay, but you've got some footage from earlier.
Yeah, so I mentioned that we had all these cars that we wanted to bring to mobile. So these are the actual cars you'd see in Horizon, that you'd see in Motorsport. They've gone through a unique process we built to optimize them for all these different platforms, but they're the same cars. And the game's all about timing. So here you can see we're getting our revs to a rev match at the launch. The game is all about getting perfect. So we judge you based upon how close you are to perfect on that launch. Each of these corners, you see the yellow line for brake, and you see a yellow line for when to get back on the gas. Now, the closer you are to that line, the more boost you're gonna earn. In the lower left corner, you see that meter that builds up over time. If you get a late like I just did, you don't get any bonus boost. If you get great or perfect, you do get a kick of boost. And that boost is critical to your victory. So while you're watching the race unfold, you can see how the cameras are changing. That's the camera work that the art guys created, and it makes the game look fantastic on a $300 budget laptop. It makes it look great on a mobile device, but it also has strategy. So if you're ahead of the opponent, when the cameras do those changes, it's going to show where you are in relation to your opponent, and it helps kind of define that strategy of, should I boost now or should I wait for a double boost? Boost later, I'll get a little bit of extra bonus. All those things play out as the race unfolds.
So, obviously, it's a Forza game, lots of different cars, right?
Yeah, lots of different cars. So we're excited about the race, obviously, and that's something new and different nobody's seen before, but that's only half the experience. So it's really a car collection game at its heart. What we've done is we've cherry-picked some of the best cars from the Forza library, like the 904 Porsche there. They're all performance icons, and we wanted to create a tournament structure, an event structure that motivates players to collect a whole wide variety of cars. So what we're looking at now is one of our events. You get to choose your way through your opponents, choose your path to victory. Some of the races, like the one we're going to click on here, has that green triangle. It's a restricted race. So only street cars, that's what that green triangle stands for, can participate in this. So even though I've brought 3 cars into this event, I'm only able to take my M3 into this race. And I can choose my opponent, which one I want to go up against. The harder opponent I choose, the more points I'll get as a reward, so it's kind of a risk reward.
And I see things like PI. I mean, that's straight from other Forza games. That's the language of Forza.
And it's the same engine running behind it. That's the key thing to remember. It's the same physics system doing the same physics calculations. So Again, that collection is broad, and we want there to be reasons to take the different cars in, because every one of these cars has a unique story, and we want to make sure that that passion that we have in Forza for cars comes through in the experience as well.
This looked like a different track to me at this race.
It is, yeah. The first track we raced on was our longest track. This is our shortest track.
Okay.
It may not seem like much, but it makes a huge difference how far you have between the corners to what your strategy is.
Okay.
You've got very little time after a corner, like here. Do I want to make a boost right away? I can't wait too long, because then if I boost too late, I'm going to be in the next corner. I'm going to be boosting through the corner. Actually, if I remember correctly, yeah, I did that right here. I waited too long, I boosted too late, and it pushed me through the corner. And it's a great illustration that this is not a racer game on rails.
Right.
So this is real physics driving. If you boost too late, you're going to go deep in the corner, hit your opponent, trade some paint.
I noticed when I took my hand off the screen, the car stops.
Yeah, so even though the cameras are switching around, and especially, this is real gameplay.
Yeah.
So if you take your foot off the accelerator, you're going to slow down. While you've got those reverse cameras showing you and the opponent, that's usually when I end up boosting, when I react to what the opponent is doing as well.
How much control over the car? Can you upgrade your cars?
You can, yeah. So we're looking at the car collection screen now. It shows all the cars that are available. I'm going to choose one. It's the M3 I was just racing with. This is the heart of the upgrade system, where you tune your car until you can't tune it anymore. You apply these tuning kits. When you hit a plateau, then you have to upgrade your car and go find some upgrade parts through different events. You win those parts and bring them back and upgrade it to unlock the next tier of tuning. It's a relatively simple system. It's very streamlined, and that's intentional, because we don't want players to focus all their time and attention on one car, because it's all about collecting a wide variety of cars. So, you know, I had a race actually yesterday that I was playing where the restrictions of the event said I had to have a retro supercar. I hadn't invested in one yet. So I went to my collection, I found that Diablo, pulled it out, quickly applied a bunch of tuning to it. I had saved some kits and was able to compete and win in that race.
It's easy to quickly get your car up to snuff and compete in it.
Yeah, exactly. It's so important, because every one of these cars has a great story that we really want to come through to players. So maybe you like cars, but you don't know too much about them. We have unique events, so I think you may have just seen it. We have spotlight events, similar to what there are in motorsport.
I saw that, yeah.
This week it's about the 904, so we're not. So it's a custom event just for that car, where you have an opportunity to win that car if you compete in the event. But we also have characters that come out on screen and will tell you some stories about that car. So it's a chance for us to create new gameplay for players, but also to tell a little bit about the uniqueness, like that BMW I was racing against, the 2002 Turbo. That's the first turbo production BMW ever. So those are little nuggets that players pick up as they play through the game that was super important for us to carry through.
It's funny,
to embrace that passion we have for cars.
I know you've been working. Andy was on Forza Friday last Friday, and we were talking about how you get to work on the special projects at Turn 10, and you've been with this game since the very beginning.
Yep, it's been a couple years now, so it's been fun.
Must be satisfying to have it here.
I know, the team's all excited to see it out there. We're all excited to see how people play it.
That's awesome. So people, like we said at the top, people can play this right now.
It's free. It's available right now in the store. We released it first on PC because we're a little bit methodical when we do things at Turn 10, as the fans probably know. We've released on PC before. It's a platform we know how to release on. So it's the fastest way for us to get it in the hands of our fans, of customers, get them a chance to play it. We're really excited about the game now, but it's just going to keep growing and keep adding more features, keep refining the experience as we're bringing it to Android and iOS, which that work's going on right now, and we'll be rolling out to regions on those platforms later this year.
And like the theme for the day is listening to feedback. Love to hear what people have to say about the game. There's a Facebook page. You can go to facebook.com/Forza Street and follow all the action.
Absolutely.
Game's available.
It is. Go play it. Go race.
There you go. There's Forza Street. Andy, thank you so much.
You bet.
Great having you here. Forza Street is available now. You can see it on screen there. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/Forza Street, or download it at the Microsoft Store for yourself now and check it out. Thank you to Andy. Listen, we are winding down, but we still have great stuff coming up here on Forza Monthly. Let's take a look at the rest of the schedule. Retro Crystal will be with us in just a moment to talk about all the fun stuff happening in Forza Horizon 4. Now, you might have seen the Playground stream from a couple weeks ago where they showed off all the cool stuff in Series 8. We're going to recap some of that. We're going to talk about the first 6 months of Forza Horizon 4, and we're going to look ahead a little bit into Series 9. We're going to see how much we can get out of Retro Crystal today. I'm going to see if I can get some great information for you guys about Series 9. And then, of course, look ahead to May. The May edition of Forza Monthly is just around the corner. We'll be looking at that as well.
Before we do, you've seen the Barrett-Jackson cars in Forza Motorsport 7. Now they've made their way into Forza Horizon 4. Check it out. Those Barrett-Jackson cars are custom made for Forza Horizon 4. It feels like they belong in the world of Forza Horizon 4. So if you haven't already, check those cars out. It's for Car Pass owners in Forza Horizon 4, the Barrett-Jackson Car Pack. Some really fun stuff in there. So pleased to be joined once again by Retro Crystal.
Yeah, thanks for having me again across the pond.
Across the pond, you make that trip. It's great to have you here.
Thanks.
Listen, we've had you guys just did a great stream about Series 8, went in deep. I know that a lot of people know what's going on, but for those who don't, what are some of the highlights of the Series 8 update for Forza Horizon 4 from your perspective?
Yes, so we brought out a brand new mode which is called Drift Adventure. I think that was the most sort of requested and liked feature from Series 8, which enabled players to essentially, within 7 minutes, they have to keep going around a track, and obviously the best score you got was also the winner. Seen quite a few people get really competitive with that, which is lovely. That's what we like to see.
That's what you want.
But also, it's enabled players to help each other, which was really also something we didn't expect to see, where people were advising different tunes for different types of cars, and everyone was sort of helping each other out, which was a really nice aspect to see from that, and that was really great from a community standpoint.
I noticed that the Drift community they're really supportive of one another. Just all the way around, they seem to be just. It's a community that loves to make other people better. You know, it's competitive, but they're totally willing to share tunes, share liveries, what have you.
I was about to say, the Drift community is probably one of the biggest side of Forza Horizon that we have, and you know, it's lovely to see this sort of community come out and, you know, show each other stuff, show what they've made or can do. We also had, obviously, our handler in our stream, Chris, show also the new people who didn't know how to tune, you know, the best way to do about that. Because even myself, I'm still a bit of a newbie to drifts. And yeah, I kind of avoid them. And, it was lovely to have that as well in our stream, that a lot of people found was useful, because then they, you know, learn. And essentially, it was kind of a go-to guide ready for drift adventures. So that was really cool to see.
One of the things that I saw sort of blow up on Twitter was when you guys announced the new livery editor, the masking tool. The painters, they're overjoyed by this news.
Oh wow, all the painters were just ecstatic. I think the main thing is that it saved a lot of hours of work for painters. So originally, they would spend hours trying to use individual decals just to get the right color and the right shape, whereas now you can just use the base color of your car, and essentially our new editor is like layer masking. So essentially you can just put a decal straight on and it'll come to the color of your base car, then you can change accordingly. We actually saw a really nice one from Mesosphere. I found out the user who did a really lovely like phoenix across the bonnet of the car using that, and it looked stunning coming through with the layer masking. So that was pretty cool. So I'm always up to see more of them.
They're making use of that feature already. I love that. We were talking in our rehearsal. We were talking about Free Roam Rush.
Yes.
And some, you know, I love this, what you were saying about it, because Free Roam Rush became a big discussion point for Playground Games, right?
Yeah, so Free Roam Rush was quite a community feedback feature. We had a lot of discussion because even though verbally there was a lot of players that wanted it removed, deep down we found that now and then you found all the hidden posts of the people that actually loved Free Roam Rush.
Yeah.
I remember we did actually tease it. We called it a Torben Tuesday tweet, and we teased it and
hashtag Torben
yeah,
Tuesday.
hashtag Torben Tuesday. And the ironic thing about that was we thought everyone wanted it removed, and then a lot of people, as soon as they saw this and thought that we might be doing it, that they came out and was like, oh no, we like it.
Yeah.
And then it started our discussion all over again of do we, don't we? But we did decide to remove it. It is only partly removed in certain types of races, but everyone seems to have good feedback from that.
It's funny, it's like over and over today we've been talking about listening to the community and hearing what they have to say. And a lot of times these decisions that are made on a game like Forza Horizon 4 or Forza Motorsport 7 it's the subject of a lot of debate, not just within the community, but within internally as well. And it sounds like there was a lot of discussion around whether we take this feature out or not.
I was about to say, a lot of it is, for example, like that's what I do. I go and look at everyone's feedback, what we see, and I tend to take it to the relevant teams. For example, I had massive discussion, like you say, with free roam rush with the designers, and a lot of our decisions. And it's also a reason why sometimes we can't be as honest as we want to be, is mainly because we change a lot of things last minute, but it's all because of community feedback. You know, we might tease something or might be saying, hey, we've got this upcoming. And then you find that a lot of players go, oh no, do it this way, or what about this? And then the community give really good ideas, which then we also adapt. And, you know, free roam rush and, for example, festival playlist. That's one of the newest adaptations to Forza Horizon 4, and originally it was 100% to collect, like, I think it was the Forza Edition Ford Capri. Yep. And a lot of people was unable to get that, which is understandable. You know, everyone, some people didn't have enough time, you know, and so we decided to go back, you know, take a step back, have a look into that. And because of the community, we then sort of downgraded the 100% to 80%. And we found a lot of people enjoyed that and was kind of accepted of that. And it meant more people could get the Ford Capri, even myself, because I think I missed one of the races. And it meant I could still get the Ford Capri. So I was quite happy with that.
You know, I wanted to talk to you about that, Retro, because I saw a tweet from you earlier where you were saying that you didn't have Forza on your laptop. So what did you do?
So essentially, I played on the Xbox, but if I ever travel, I tend to take my laptop with me, and I forgot to pre-download Forza on it. And within Festival Playlist, there's dailies, which a lot of people think you have to do it within the day, but actually there's sort of a 3-day gap. So I forgot to do one on Fridays, which meant by the end of Sunday, it wouldn't have been completed, and my internet at my hotel was so slow that I couldn't download Forza.
You would have had to start last week to get that downloaded.
And I started to panic, and I was like, what do I do? So funny story is I actually messaged my parents to play.
I love that.
And I got my parents to sign in as my account and actually play Forza for me just to complete the dailies so you can get close to that 100%.
So when you called them, were they like, what are you talking about? Or like, no, we know exactly what you need, we'll do it.
Well, funny enough, my parents are gamers. I'm quite lucky that my family do play video games. My dad is a big fan of driving games, so I think I just left it to him. I was like, I just kind of went, this is what you have to do, just go do it.
Handle it, Dad.
Luckily, I think they were just easy. I think it was just like airborne passes or something. So I said, oh, just go over a hill, or it was something so simple, or I think sand dunes or something. I told him to go on, but yeah, I'm quite lucky in that aspect.
You know what? You know what we have to do now? We have to get your parents on the show.
That's it.
They got to be here at some point on Forza Monthly. You have an open invitation, Mom and Dad, Retro Crystal, even more Retro Crystal, I think you would call them. Yes, so welcome. You're welcome on the show anytime. Listen, you know, we've been driving around the King Cobra from the Bear Jackson car pack a little bit. One of the things that's cool, as I mentioned it earlier in the show, we are at the 6-month mark of the launch of Forza Horizon 4. And so one of the fun things we did is we wanted to take a look at everything that the community has been doing with Forza Horizon 4. And let me tell you, you guys have been doing a lot. So Playground put together this amazing infographic of all the things that you guys in the community have been doing in Forza Horizon 4. Retro, where do we start with? I think for me, we start with over 6 million houses bought.
Yes,
that's incredible.
A lot. That is
This may be a first in any driving game ever.
Yes.
That's a Guinness record right there.
I was about to say, when we were looking into all the facts and the numbers, I don't think even we could believe the amount of, you know, houses and castles and miles driven. And like you say, it's just under 5 billion, which I'm pretty sure is now over 5 billion at this point.
Amazing.
But the funny thing is we were looking into the castles bought, and obviously at the moment it's 544 times the number of castles. So we decided to look a
that
bit
exists,
more.
right?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I always wonder how many of them are Edinburgh Castle, because I'm pretty sure everyone tries to own Edinburgh Castle.
Yeah.
But I was looking into it personally, and some funny facts is, so I've got like an American fact and then a UK one, is I think it was 442 times as many Gregs as we have in the UK, which I found out, those that are Americans and listening, I don't think you have Gregs over here.
I don't
think you know what Gregs are.
No, I'll look it up later.
Okay, it's a pasta shop. It's food anyway.
I've told in my ear I'm lucky I don't know what a Greg is.
Oh, Greg's is nice. If you're in the UK anyway. And also for American, the number of, I think it was 46 times, no, around that, times the number of Starbucks in the US.
Is that right?
Which actually doesn't seem a lot when you're only timesing it by about the 40, 50 times mark, but
amazing.
But yeah.
As I scan around this graphic, I see a PLP50 graphic. Gee, I wonder where that came from, Retro Crystal.
Like it's my favorite car. But yeah, that's definitely one of my facts which I threw in there and was like, we must get this in.
Well, you know, when you're helping with the graphic, it's good to get your stats in there. I wouldn't have guessed the WRX STI is the most popular car. I mean, I mean, it makes sense. It's a great car, but I would have guessed something like the Senna as the first car you drive. But boy, people love their Subis.
Yeah, we were a little surprised. I mean, the thing is, it kind of links into the festival playlist, which I was talking about, is how there was a few cars in there as well that we saw that we had a look on the big, you know, list of cars, and we saw that there were certain cars that not a lot of people played, but that's why we sort of, for example, the Ford Capri was one. Not a lot of players had it, and that's why we gave it as an opportunity for players within the festival playlist. So even though that is the most popular car, I'm surprised if that'll stay.
Yeah.
With what's, you know, up and coming, but. I don't know. I don't know if I was surprised or not. I think, like you say, it is a very good car. So I'm surprised people do have it.
It's an all-wheel drive, which is great when you're going off-road. It just makes a lot of sense. So there you go. There's a look at what you guys have been doing in the community during the first 6 months of Forza Horizon 4's existence. One other thing we wanted to sort of celebrate is the fact that Playground Games has been working like crazy on this game since launch.
Yes.
And listening to you guys in the community, we put together a video of highlighting all the work that Playground did, listening to the community and putting new features in the game. Check that out.
We are going to take a look at the most fan-requested feature I think we've ever had. It is the route creator.
You create a route basically by driving, and as you go down there, just hit the X button to drop a checkpoint. We're going to drive back and loop it into the beginning. So you drive back to the gantry, and that tells the game that this is going to be a circuit.
So Fortune Island is the largest, most extreme, most treacherous expansion we've ever built. Got loads more jumps challenges, loads more asphalt racing than normal, but at the same time, we've got some really great cross-country dirt racing. So the treasure hunt is it's this competition being put on by the Horizon Festival. Basically, through completing this treasure chest somewhere on the island, you find the chest, and then whoever finds it first gets to be a millionaire. So we've got this incredible 3.5 kilometer long drift road here.
Music to my ears. I love it. The drift community thanks you.
A cross-country speed zone might be the best way to describe it.
Okay.
You enter one gate, it drops a location that you need to get to, usually with some really dangerous, treacherous terrain in between. You've got that timer at the bottom there, so apply that little bit of pressure. So let's see if I can get there. See it.
Oh, didn't expect that.
We've added in a whole bunch of new wheel options, specifically new rim styles. Not only you can paint the wheels, you can also go in and paint specific sections of wheels. So choose colors and also materials, which is not something that people have been able to do before. The detailed feel that you get out of it is completely different. And now we have paint groups.
So I can now color that. I can make that part carbon whilst leaving the back part the same navy.
Yeah.
Sweet.
First thing I'll do is open up the effects mode, and you'll see a bunch of new features there that weren't there before.
Seems like something you could use to make some really gorgeous product pictures.
It's great, yeah, particularly when you're trying to show off new liveries that you've created. I'm really excited to see what the community comes up with.
So let's talk about the Horizon stories, because I can imagine those are so fun to make.
From the moment you push the accelerator down, you're having fun. And that just means you're on the right track. And it allows us really to be very clean with the kind of story that we tell, that doesn't need complex character development arcs. Everything is like its own little story. There are 7 new Mitsubishis, some Lancers, a Galant, and they're available as a car pack.
Here it is, the 2008 Lancer. It looks great. I'm so happy to have these cars back. A lot of people have a lot of love for Mitsubishis.
Free-for-all adventure is a new way to play online adventure where you don't have to be in a team. It's available in ranked and unranked modes. Basically takes all of the existing gameplay and makes it available in a game mode that doesn't require a team.
Massively requested thing. We're increasing the garage space, so you can have 750 cars, 500 tunes, 500 liveries, 500 vinyl groups, and 150 photos.
You guys are huge on content. There's so much happening week by week.
So you've got your Forzathons in there, your dailies as well. These are all the season events and the seasonal PR stunts. Over on the side here we have monthly rivals and online adventure. So you can and all these are interactive, so you can click on online adventure and it'll go and show you
what league I'm in, what rewards I can get at the moment. Every time you click on any of these buttons, we'll know about it, and we'll be able to get a picture of what it was that people went to first, what it was that they did the most and stuff like that, and then that will inform the content that we make later.
Love that look back at all of those community requested features that Playground's been working hard on. I'm gonna put you on the spot. If you had a favorite feature that you've added during this time, what would you say?
Ooh, probably the recent showcase remixes, only because I really enjoyed them anyway, and the fact I now have reason to play them again. Yeah, really good feature.
I think you could pick any feature and you wouldn't be incorrect. There's so much going on. So let's talk a little bit about Series 9, because it's just a few weeks away. You guys are hard at work over there in the UK, getting ready for this next update. There's going to be a live stream from PGHQ. But before we get there, what can you tell us about Series 9?
So there's not a lot we could say, but there's a few bits and bobs. So we can start off with Custom Adventure.
Sure.
I know we've mentioned that before, and there is that coming up in Series 9. Hopefully, I've been told that it's all on track at the moment and going very well, so we are hoping for that to come out on Series 9.
Okay.
The idea of Custom Adventure is a lot of the feedback that we've got from the community is people want to choose their races. So you want to be able to choose your class, your type of race, whether you've got collisions on or off, whether you've got free roam rush on or off, which I think is a very good aspect that you can personalize it.
Yep.
The thing with Custom Adventure is that obviously I just want to mention like the matchmaking, because this is a very big aspect. So when a player is essentially in its own matchmaking lobby, there's also, you've got to be careful what you choose, because I always say choose something you want to play. What the races you like, definitely go ahead with them. But don't forget, if you choose something that might not be as popular or you think you love, but there might not be many players out there, you may be waiting a little bit of time in the matchmaking lobby. But that is literally just because it's not as popular. It's not that, there's an issue or anything like that. It's just that it's not as popular. However, what it means, though, is that as soon as someone does want to join you, you will be, like, straight away, hopefully, getting straight into a race. But this leads into another fact, which is it's going to become a bit of a feature where we're going to look at the races that are played and the races that are not played, and maybe take away or add deciding. So what you might play one week might not actually be available in another week. But like I say, it's a little bit of like a trial and error feature. But like I say, it's all about personalization. And also don't forget that if players find that something that they want, like, I don't know, let's say D-Class Dirt or something that they don't want to, that seems to take a long time because not a lot of people like it, you can try Custom Adventure, you can try, not Custom Adventure, sorry, you can try Private Adventure, Don't forget there's a lot of, like, for example, on the Discord we mentioned earlier, we have LFG groups on there, so you can go looking for players and, sort of wait for someone to say, hey, I want to play that too, so feel free to do that. But I think for now, I think that's all we can say about Custom Adventure, but it is on its way, we hope.
It's that thing that I always tell the community, if you love something, play it.
Yes,
and
definitely.
And that will let at least the team know that there's a population out there that like this type of event. So we're always saying the best way to vote on something is to play it in the game.
Exactly, because I think a lot of players out there, we come back to the situation of trying to please everyone, and hopefully this is the way to do it because people can choose what they want. But like you say, what one person might want, and not necessarily another player will like. So hopefully this will kind of show not only ourselves, but the players of, what people do play. And, and hopefully people can find other players to play alongside,
So too.
That's good.
Anything else about Series 9? What can we pry out of you here, put you on the spot?
What else can we say? So there is potentially another showcase remix.
Okay.
And I've been told maybe a Horizon story, but unfortunately, all we can say is that you will really enjoy it. So that is it. That is it about that one. And one last thing is that I've heard there is a little bit of an event coming up, but that's it. And
keyword little,
the little there.
tiny,
just a little.
Let that be a keyword. Let that be a clue for what's happening in Series 9.
Feel free to go make what you want as that, but yeah, that's all we can say, I'm afraid, for now.
Well, that sounds great, and
I assume you're going to be on the next PG stream.
Yes.
I hope so. Well, we'll see you there. We'll have more information on that stream coming up live from Playground about Series 9 for Forza Horizon 4. Let's also look ahead to May with Forza Monthly, because the next episode of Forza Monthly is coming up on Tuesday, May 7th. In fact, it's going to be right on the back of the Playground stream where they will be talking about Series 9. So another busy day here on the Forza channels. You want to make sure you subscribe, whether you're watching on Mixer, Twitch, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe so you can be informed of when all of those streams are happening. And that May 7th show is an important one, because you might remember Dan was sitting here last month talking about the next motorsport project. We're going to have our first news about that in May. Can't wait to share that with you. Can't give you any hints now, but we're going to be talking about it next month, so you don't want to miss the May 7th show. Remember, that's Tuesday, May 7th, 11 a.m. Pacific. Don't want to miss that. Before we wrap up, let's take a look at the rest of the day here on the Forza channels. We had Ali Tack doing his Forza GT thing in the morning. We're currently smack dab in the middle. Well, we're towards the end of Forza Monthly. And then right after this, Shannon McIntosh will be here for Smack Attack, her live streaming show. Right after the show ends, it'll be Shannon. And we've got our weekly calendar. Retro's here. She's going to be on the show with John Iwana tomorrow.
Yes, hopefully, yeah.
First appearance with John Iwana on the Tuesday Drive. John will be live from his garage on Wednesday with Wheel and Pedal Wednesday, and then followed by Thumbs Up Thursday. Verena and I will be live on Friday with Hey Watch This and Forza Friday, and don't miss Copilot Show on Sunday. Another busy week in the world of the Forza streaming channels. Hope you guys enjoyed this show. Remember, Forza Street is available now. You can download it from the Microsoft Store. You can check out what's happening on the Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Forza Street. Don't miss all that. Go get the game, go play, go follow along with the community. It's all happening here today. For Retro Crystal, for Christina Chase, for Vaughn Gittin Jr., for Andy Bodwin, thank you so much for being part of the April edition of Forza Monthly. We'll see you on May 7th, 11 a.m. Pacific for the May show. Take care, everybody. See ya.